and welcome to episode 2 of The Creative Underground, where we go deep into what we create and why. Episode 2 is with my friend Noah Colley. I have a little something prepared for you here, Noah, just to introduce you, and then we can talk about some cool topics, okay? When I think of Noah, I think of a kindred creative spirit and a person tuned into the same hidden art realities that I believe in. Here are some things we've done together. We've dressed in cloaks as the Todds, the Oracle Door directors, at the first Creative Cult event at the Southern Ohio Museum, trying to steal everyone's drawings and creative souls. We've staged a journey to the guru of the creativity, We've staged a journey to the guru of creativity at the Vern Rife After Dark. We've spent the afternoon performing a series of elaborate pool basketball trick shots, some of which we left our bodies upon making, which was deep proof to us that the universe, the powers that be, will come to you, and that almost anything can become a spiritual experience if performed in total play immersion. How many times do you think we tried that one that was like behind the back, Noah, that 40-footer behind the back? Noah and I recently collaborated on his first EP. I made the visual art, Noah made the music, and both of us were going back and forth on the story and direction of the project to make it as good as it could be. We have had uncountable deep conversations about what art in our lives mean. Noah also rigorously proofreads my books, and in general we help each other live more creative lives, and he's a person I can count on in this lifelong journey of art. Also, we share a love for Twin Peaks. Noah, we're going to get into your journey of philosophy and art, but first, what is the most profound takeaway from David Lynch's masterpiece, Twin Peaks, for you, personally?
Oh, man.
I can tell you a moment that I was aware of kind of a new magic that I was experiencing in a TV show. I'll tell you my moment, but what was that for you?
The moment?
Yeah,
The moment. It's probably a lot of people's moment is where Cooper goes to bed and he starts having a dream, and there's just a scene of these red curtains, and then there's just this little dwarf man comes out, and there's some jazz music playing, and he starts snapping. And you're just confused, and he's walking backwards, and it's strange, and you know that it's purposefully strange, and I think that's when you know, okay, this guy is strange. He's making something strange, and it has meaning, especially as the scene progresses, and you notice they're talking backwards, and that Laura, the girl who is supposed to be dead, she's sitting there on a couch, and it's weird, man. I don't know, but that's when I was clued in to okay.
No, I think I told you that I actually turned that off the first time that it came on. I was watching it by myself, and I couldn't do it. For whatever reason, it unsettled me so that I could not finish that scene with the midget at first, where he's kind of shaking in the corner.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's rustling.
Yeah. Was the dancing? Was that before or after the dancing? Was your scene before that, or did it introduce with the shaking? I can't remember.
I can't remember. No, because I think he's shaking, and then he turns around and says, "Let's rock."
You're probably right. My moment with Twin Peaks was when Leland breaks down in this melodramatic fit about his daughter dying, and he's like, Laura, and that music swelling in the background, that Angelo Badalamenti or whatever. I was I couldn't tell. I really couldn't tell if it was satire at first, if it was making fun of soap operas, or if it was really committed to that.
Right.
That's what was confusing, because I was man, there's something so sincere on one hand about this, but hilarious on the other, and that just immediately pulled me in. Well, I was trying to figure out if he was real, if they were being real or not,
Yeah. No, it takes 3 episodes for you to really get an answer to that, I think.
Yeah.
Because it commits. He's so committal to it. to like there's a melodrama, there's all these characters, and it just presents itself like your standard soap opera. But there's all these small little like idiosyncrasies that are so weird that it can't it like creates this cognitive dissonance that's like, this isn't normal.
Yeah.
This isn't like, it is a soap opera, but there's something that isn't sitting right with me, you know?
Yeah. But we could continue going on about that.
I probably could.
But I want to get into your story, Noah, your musical and artistic journey. So, first order of business, you made that intro that everybody just heard at the beginning of this episode, at the beginning of the last one. When you sent me that, it was so cool that you clipped in like Peterson and Bukowski, McKenna, and you made it a special thing. I sent you a reference. I kind of wanted you to have this like garage EDM sound. But what's it like when I send you that reference? What's the very first thing you do? And then how does it progress to what it is now that people hear?
So I get your reference, and I listen to it. And then after listening to it, or while I listen to it, I guess, we just talked about this, I'm kind of like trying to understand what is happening that is having an effect on you. So that's an emotional thing, or like a more of a feeling based thing. But then there's also like this application of music theory that I need to be aware of, like how what's the chord progression, the cadences, stuff like that, the tone, the timbres that are being used, the instrumentation. So I'm like gathering all these little small snippets
of the reference I sent you?
Of the reference, right. I want to understand the reference so that I can understand why you like it, I guess.
The reference, just for everyone's reference, it was the song Gutted from Burial. And Burial was like an underground garage ADM music guy in like 2007 and 8. He was like really big then. And people said that he made music that like people didn't know if garage had like dance application, if it could be something that people could play at a party and stuff, and he kind of like bridged that gap between just really grungy garage stuff to dance music.
Cool, that's awesome.
But anyway, that's a reference, and so you were collecting those pieces of it, right? Music theory pieces.
Yeah, essentially. And then so the first thing I did musically was I laid down a drone. Well, first I found the sound of like this grungy kind of synth sound, and I laid down a drone.
Where do you find the sound?
I actually just bought a Rolly, or I didn't buy it, I got it for Christmas actually, a Rolly keyboard, which is it's called a C-board, and it has like all these sensitivities to them. Like you can, if you move your finger up, the tone of it gets brighter or darker. If you go down, you can slide your finger around, and it
that's cool.
It will slide up or down in pitch, and it's like sensitive to the pressure you put on it, and it's a really cool thing. If you're a musician, you should check it out. But the software that came with that had some cool like electronic sounds, so I was kind of just digging that, and I wanted to experiment with the new instrument, so I used that. But I found these sounds, and then I laid down a drone, just one note, and I just looped that note, and then I picked a bass sound, and it was just improv. I'm looking for like the same emotional response in me that the reference gave, while using the ideas that I gathered from it, and I'm just hammering it until something sticks, basically, like throwing spaghetti at the wall. And it didn't take too long, actually, this time around. It was like maybe 5 other like predecessors to the final like you know.
So you were going through just a bunch of iterations of something like that sounded good to you?
Yeah. And if it didn't feel good,
You're mainly
be the
just wanting
creator.
you mainly just want it to feel good, right? The iterations you're going through, you're trying to match it maybe a little bit to the reference, but you mainly just want it to feel good to you, or
It's I want to have confidence that it's going to feel good to you, but the only way I can do that, there's two ways. I can use like this kind of looking at the music theory and how close it is to the reference. But then I'm also saying, if this doesn't feel good for me to create, if I'm not like happy with it, then it's just not it. That's not the end point for my creative process. I'm going to go until there's a little bit of pride in it, I guess. You know, I don't want any sort of like insecurity about the music, because it's not the music is just it stands by itself. I can get insecure when it comes to me, like if I had my voice or something, then that's a different. It's not really okay, but it's probably understandable. But when it comes to just standalone music, melody, a rhythm, and stuff like that, there is no me. It's just that is the music. So I want to get away from all that insecurity in there, and it just comes down to, does this feel like I think it should?
yeah, that makes sense. I mean, okay, so you've got that base layer, you get something that feels pretty good to you after 5 iterations or so. What makes you? How'd you choose those references?
What references?
Of Peterson, Bukowski, McKenna.
Yeah. Well, I have an infatuation with Terence McKenna, so that was an easy one.
You probably heard that clip or something.
Yeah. It's a lecture he gives on creativity. That was the starting point. But I knew I wanted these intellectual speakers' voices coming in the music, because it adds a bit of like you to the sound and a bit of me. I mean, we share this like
Definitely
inclination to listen to these people. So I knew I wanted that. So then I'm picking out my favorite people and your favorite people, basically. Some of them. I mean, surely not all of them, but Terrence, Alan Watts, those are kind of my like go-to guys. And then I know Jordan Peterson is big for you, and Charles Bukowski is big for you. And then there's this lady in there that says underground.
Yeah, what is that from?
Okay, so I got on YouTube, and I'm like, how can I get someone to say underground? And I typed in Underground Railroad lecture.
Really? That's so fun.
I know, and then I went through all these like lectures from different universities of these women giving talks about the Underground Railroad, and surprisingly, most of them say it very fast, like Underground Railroad. Like it's like it mixes in with railroad, so it's like underground and railroad are one word. So it took me a long time to find just a really clean underground.
On that topic, do you ever collect references, Noah, from like life? Would you ever get a tape recorder and try to sample things?
Yeah.
Have you ever before? Because we have this, nowadays we have just like endless video footage and stuff that we can pull from everything and cannibalize, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yes. I did this more probably last year than I did, or in 2020 than I did in 2021. There's one moment in particular. I was in a restaurant, or it was like a small diner in West Virginia.
That's
I
perfect.
think it's Black Rock, West Virginia. I don't know the actual town. Super small, really like mom and pop type of deal.
Twin Peaks, dude.
There's very Twin Peaks. And there's these two guys behind me talking about like summertime and how it's so hot and they didn't have air conditioner. And I don't know why, but I knew I needed to record it. So I started my recorder on my phone, and I got a really cool audio clip of these old guys talking. They'll never know. Unfortunately, I wish I could have told them, hey, I'm going to use your voices. But he said something like, they were like, man, winter's coming soon. You gotta be prepared for the cold. And then one of the guys was like, summertime. Man, it feels good. Or something along those lines. I still have it on my phone. And I've been waiting to use it, but you'll hear that eventually.
For sure. I do the same thing, just I write it down. I write people's dialogue down. That's my favorite thing, for sure.
Yeah, I've done that too, actually.
Well, the intro sounds really good, Noah. Thank you for doing that. I'm excited that you're doing someone else's intro soon, and that's going to be sick. You need to just get on these, do some commission work like this, Noah.
I'm totally open.
Yeah.
All you listeners out there.
Well, tell me about... Okay, so we're going to get into your journey, Noah.
Okay.
And we're going to go into the underground. And when I say that, what I mean is we're going to go into the place and talk about your transformation from when you started to where you are now, where you're able to utilize your music abilities and use music theory references and work in a program that allows you to produce music. And we're going to get to lead all the way up to your first EP, We the Water. But no, that's sufficient. Okay, so we're going to enter the underground, where we go deep into what we create to transform together. That's the goal, is transformation. That transformation is leading somewhere. It's leading somewhere like our fullest potential. And we don't exactly know where that stops, So hopefully we can talk about it and articulate the highs and low points in our transformation, and maybe everyone can benefit from that and remove some of their own roadblocks in their creative journey, okay? Okay, so... Just start from the beginning. When were you first interested in music?
Okay.
Early. Yeah.
Early. So I've actually thought about this, and before I get onto my earliest memory, and I've often thought about it as like the hero's journey, and I wonder if everyone does that.
From real early, you started like I'm gonna be a hero.
No. Now.
Oh, okay. Now.
Thinking about my entire story, I can relate it to the hero's journey. Do you do that?
100%. I didn't always, but maybe in the last 2 or 3 years. I don't know. There's lots of small little hero's journeys we go through every day.
Right.
And then our life is one big hero's journey, and maybe that's I take it from Peterson. Maybe that's the essential story. The very first story, even older than Christianity, like you go into the unknown, you defeat or take from whatever chaos you learn there, and you bring it back to the community and distribute it. And that's primitive people, when they go out to hunt, they don't know what they're going to encounter. There's going to be beasts and monsters of every kind, but you have to kill and you have to survive to have your community benefit, So yes, obviously I've thought about it. There's this really good book, The Artist's Journey, from Stephen Pressfield, and everything is about the hero's journey. He articulates that for the artist person, but go ahead.
Cool. Just making sure, because I don't want to sound like
aggrandizing.
Right. So,
no,
making sure.
It's the essential story I'm tracking.
Sure, there has to be a reason we're so attracted to that story, and why it's all over, like modern culture. Everywhere we look, everyone's a hero. And that's probably been the case in Western culture since Jesus, or like you're saying before. It's the oldest story. But, anyways, let's talk about my hero's journey.
Please, I'm excited to hear about it now.
So, the oldest memory I have, musically, I am standing in front of my grandmother's television set. It's like a box TV, those old box TVs. And Shania Twain is on there. And it's, Man, I Feel Like a Woman, that song. And I'm just dancing and singing. I'm like 3 or 4, And I don't know if... surely everyone was laughing at me and be like, "Oh, look, he can dance. He's so cute."
And it's Shania Twain. That's so funny.
Shania Twain. So I've had a connection to that song my entire life. But
wow,
Yeah, that's my first memory musically. And I think there's something about like maybe the attention that I got from that could have progressed my curiosity for music maybe. The next memory, I guess, would be in elementary school. I remember going into music class and we had the big, like, he had prepared these big music textbooks. They looked like encyclopedias, but they had like music in them or something, like kids' music. And he was teaching us the notes and what they do and stuff like that. No one understood, but he had high hopes. Mr. Pierce was his name. And I remember singing, probably, I don't know what the song was, Mary Had a Little Lamb or something. And I was like doing it mockingly, but in an operatic voice. And everyone was laughing, and it was like a big deal.
Is it because just the cool kids didn't sing Little Mary or Mary Had a Little Lamb? No, or was that why you're doing it mockingly? Or
maybe. Okay, in an operatic voice. Like it didn't sound good. It was funny, and then other people joined in. My friend beside me joined in, and he started doing it.
But you did this thing. You started this thing.
I started this thing, and I was never a class clown. That was not a thing. Mm-hmm. But in this musical moment, I totally was, and I'm proud of that to this day. Then we go on, and in middle school, I tried the saxophone. Couldn't make a noise out of it that sounded good, so I put that down fairly quickly. And then there was a talent show, and I'm like, well, I could kind of sing, and I like High School Musical because that was the big deal at the time. And I sang with this girl. Actually, I wanted to sing a Maroon 5 song, and the teachers brought me into the office, and they're like, Noah, you can't sing this song. And I was like, why? I just prepared for this. And they said, well, there's curse words all over it. And I was like, but I wasn't going to say the curse words. And they're like, I'm sorry, you can't do it. Why don't you do a High School Musical song? Yeah. So then I'm like, okay, I'll do it. But what song? You know, there's no like good, I don't know. But I was just like, what song? And they hooked me up with this girl.
Gabriella.
No, we were not
okay.
the...
Oh, you weren't the characters, right?
We were,
right.
No. We weren't the main characters. Yeah, we were the side pieces. The twins, the evil twins.
Oh, really? You guys did like that flamboyant...
Yes.
Really?
Bop to the top.
Wow. Bop to the top. That is a...
Yeah.
That's good. No.
With the dance. Okay?
With the dance,
with
too.
The dance.
Jeez, dude.
I went all in.
We watched High School Musical maybe 3 or 4 months ago.
Wow, good for you.
The first one and the second one. Continue, please.
No, I think we did like 6 months ago.
Good.
Yeah,
good.
all of them, all 3. Yeah. So,
They're pretty good.
Yeah, they're okay. You know, it's not Zac Efron singing, right? In the first one?
Get out.
I think he does in the second one, and they like auto-tune his voice and stuff, but in the first, it's not him.
What?
He's lip-syncing, yeah.
You mean he doesn't even do this, like singing in the actor? Like they cast someone else to sing it?
Yeah, it's another guy. It's just overdubbed onto him. Mm-hmm.
I wish you would have never told me that. No,
or I'm totally wrong, but I think that's true. Anyway, so I did that. We got second place, of course. Mm-hmm. I've never won a talent show, but I've always got second place. Fun fact.
It fits good for the characters you were too.
That's true.
Yeah.
We embodied them. And then the other memory from middle school, I was sitting waiting for the bus outside on this like a stone ledge, right? And I had this little gray and like blue accented CD player with these little overhead cheap headphones, and I was singing like Linkin Park along with the CD. And when the bus pulled up, I kind of looked over, and these 2 girls were like giggling and like, you know, looking at me like it was funny. And my heart just dropped, and I was like, oh my God, what have I done? I'm trying to be this cool, mysterious loner guy over here. But in my attempt to do so, I just ruined my entire image.
You humiliated yourself.
I did. And that was the beginning of my fear of my voice, I believe.
Really? Mm-hmm. That moment right there?
I think that might have been it. But also, around the same time, me and my sister didn't have the best relationship with each other. And I was a total dick to her. But she, in return, probably deservingly, would make fun of my voice. That was like her thing towards me. So I think it created this like.
Siblings
thing.
really know how to twist the knife, don't they?
They do. She knew. She knew that would do it. We're much better now.
Cool.
Yeah. But anyways, so then junior high, I was pretty focused on sports, and but I was in the choir, and I remember singing, like we got in this line to sing solo for the teacher, just one by one in front of everybody, and she told me to sing a Christmas song, and all I could think of was Frosty the Snowman. So I sang Frosty the Snowman in front of everybody, and she was like, "Wow!" And she asked me to sing in the Christmas play or concert, and I was like, "No way, absolutely not." So I didn't do it. And that was that. But I got a little confidence there. And the next year I was in choir, and Clark came to teach. And there's something about that guy, and I think he was the biggest catalyst for pushing me into music fully with abandon. I don't know if it was his passion for music or his willingness to share in musical experience with other people, or just his charisma in general. There is an infectious nature to him. That was kind of many of his students actually went on to do music, or to pursue music collegiately. Is that the right word? Collegiately?
Yeah.
Sure.
I think so.
So, this guy just very charismatic, and I think that had a lot to do with what really pushed me over that edge to jump off and do this. One of the scariest things probably anyone can do is pursue art. Mm-hmm. So there was that. And then into high school, he was there for 2 more years, and I really developed my ear, I think, in the show choir. In the select and show choir was the combo. And he gave me this big music theory booklet. It was in a folder, and it was one of his college books that he just printed out. And I would fill in all the blanks and do the worksheets and stuff, trying to get better at music theory.
You said Clark, pushed you into the world of music. He gave you that book. What I don't know. Were there other students that he had that were like that with you at the time, or
yes.
Why did you grab onto that thing versus continue with the sports or something?
So there were other students that were doing similar things, participating in this exploration of college level music.
Did Clark give you those kind of workbooks and stuff with the intention of being like, hey, you guys could go to school for this, you could have a place in the world as a musician? Did he frame it in that way at all, or was it like, this is just, if you're interested in this, it's a good thing?
Probably the latter. I would say that he wasn't very pushy. For some reason, we all just had the same idea, and it kind of spawned from him. And
you liked doing it. We
loved doing it. Yeah, it became an obsession in a lot of ways. We were skipping class, not really skipping class, but asking our other teachers, hey, can we go to Clark's room and hang out there? And then if we didn't have anything going on, we would. and we'd just nerd out and be incredibly nerdy music students.
Well, that's good. I mean, how does it progress from there? Your interest, the interest that Clark kind of helped you achieve. Where does it go in? Well, you came to Shawnee at first. You weren't pursuing like such a rigorous music-related career, were you? Or that was still your intention when you went to Shawnee?
No.
What did you go to Shawnee to take at first?
Computer engineering.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
And then why didn't you become a computer engineer?
Okay, so I went into computer engineering because my mom was not too privy on me going to school for music. And there was this big expectation because they saw me as like intellectual to some degree that I needed to make money. You know, I have all this potential to make money, so you need to go to school to do that. So then I agreed, you know, I was being led in a lot of ways, and that's what it led me to. So I got there, did the classes, kind of put music to the side as like a hobby, but I didn't really do anything. Even while I was there with music, it was very, I really put it down for that whole year. But in the classes, they were fine. And I have experience with computers prior, so it wasn't terribly difficult. But then as the second semester came around, my interest started to like waver, and I started to really pursue like soccer, and I don't know why, but
I remember being on the field with you, bro.
Yeah, and I was like, I just want to be good at something, and I didn't have that same feeling with computers, or with the degree that I was trying to get. But the real kicker with that degree, I probably would have went on, but there was some sort of divine intervention that happened. I went to class one day. It was a coding class, I think, and I plugged in my computer to the outlet, and smoke started to come out. And I was like, oh no, what is happening? And the professor came over, and he's like, oh my. I was like, well, I guess I'll go. I was like, do you have any way I can like continue the class today? He said no. So I just left. And after the computer that smoked, I started to pack my desktop computer in, as big as my torso, carrying it across campus, you know. Super ashamed to like, don't look at me. This isn't happening. I'm dressed terribly, and I'm packing a giant computer at 8 a.m. So that kind of got tiring. That's when I asked Patrick to borrow his laptop, and he lent it to me. So I took it to class, and I shit you not, that day that I took it to class, it blue screened, and the hard drive had failed.
So your two computers failed when you were at the start of the second semester or something, or early into it?
Yep, and it was the start. It was probably the first 2 or 3 weeks of classes. And after that, well, let's just say I didn't want to ruin any more computers. So I just stopped going, and I flunked the class. And that was kind of it. That's when I knew, because I'm like, I need to pass this class to graduate. But there's no way I'm going back to that class. So after that, I started to think more, what else can I do? You know? And my original intention, my original desire was to go to school for music. So then I started to look into Morehead and make some calls about that.
It was as simple as that. You just didn't. One, you flunked the class, and those two catastrophic things happened with computers, and you were like, well, I guess I better look into something else to do.
Right.
You wanted to be good at something. You wanted to put yourself into something.
Yeah, and it's hard to, it's hard to not like, it's hard to ignore the possibility that there is some synchronistic event happening to me that would cause these computers to implode upon
Sure.
themselves. So,
Why Morehead? Why'd you look into Morehead?
that goes back to Clark as well. He went to Morehead, and we had taken a fall festival maybe or something like that, where high school students go to Morehead and they just like sing and play for a concert, being taught by the professors of Morehead. So, and then I did like a summer arts academy, which is an artistic summer program with them, and I knew Dr. Detweiler really well, the choir teacher. It just seemed like that was the place.
Cool.
And so I called them actually the day before move-in, and I said, hey, I got rejected. They didn't let me in because of my grades. Yeah. So I called them. I said, hey, I want to debate that. So they called me in the day of move-in, and I sat around this giant round table, and they asked me
with like faculty members?
With faculty members and board members probably. And they were basically like, Noah, how are you not going to ruin your life right now? Like, are you going to uphold yourself here? And
did you just take that upon yourself, or was like, did Clark tell you, hey, you can try to like talk on behalf of yourself of why they should admit you to the university?
Oh, I don't remember. It was probably Clark that told me that, but. Yeah, so I argued my way in, and then I had to move in the same day. So then I drove back to Portsmouth, gathered all my things, and moved in. Sounds
Dang.
Fun. Yeah.
Okay. Well, cool. You're in Morehead then, and what was the most the first eye-opening experience that you had to get serious about what you were doing now?
It took a while.
Because, you can go to college and just kind of float around and take your gen eds and stuff. Mm-hmm. Was there any of that at Morehead at first?
No, there wasn't. I was very on the ball, as they say. And I had an accountability partner, kind of, in my friend Curtis, who was my roommate and also a past student of Clark's. So we had that in common. Mm-hmm.
Did you get hooked up with that because of that, or did that just happen circumstantially?
Circumstantially. It was a weird thing. And
did it just happen by random chance? Anyway, continue. Not a real rhetorical question.
Right. But we were on the ball, and we would do all of our assignments the day we got them. And I remember we had given ourselves this goal to transcribe a song we really liked once every night, which was a lot of work. And
that is a lot of work. Can I back up just for a moment here?
Sure.
Are we at the point in the hero's journey where like you got the call, right? Mm-hmm. Well, the hesitation of the call was you had to argue your way into the underworld, which is Morehead, right? That's when you said that you're on the ball now. You feel like you're on a mission. You have entered the new place, right?
Right.
Okay,
finally.
so we're right at the start of Act 2, right?
Yep. I would say so.
Okay.
So then,
because I could feel it when you were like, no, there was no hesitation. We were on the ball. I could feel the momentum picking up already.
Yeah.
We're out of the ordinary world now.
We are in the new world, and it felt like the new world. And for a while, they're gonna get a high from that. Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, it's all so magical until you see the monsters,
Yeah, until the suffering starts.
And you're attacked from every angle.
I'm excited about. Why were you guys transcribing those things every night? Why was that a goal every night?
We wanted to just be better than everyone else.
What was what were you transcribing?
Just songs that we liked, enjoyed at the time. I remember.
Wait, to be able to sing, or were they not in English or something, or what?
They were mostly instrumental pieces.
Okay.
Like I remember transcribing Dexter's, the TV show, like the ending theme to that, and then the Lost.
Oh, into note music, into notes.
Into notation.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, that probably helps.
I have no knowledge of this. So.
Yes, it's all on a computer, and we just like we're putting the notes how we heard them. And
So you're like, I'm going to know how to write music on a staff or
exactly.
bar thing,
Exactly.
right?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep. So we did that. That probably fell off after a month.
Okay.
Okay, so we're just like slowly grinding. But what really killed that, funny enough, it was like God was saying, you don't need this. We moved rooms. I don't know why we got moved into this room, but I came home one day and Curtis is sitting at the desk with a hairdryer, and he's just like going to town on but my computer is open, like the motherboard is showing, and he's just going to town. And then I knew immediately, like, oh no, that's not good. Like, I had built that computer myself, and that was really upsetting, because I don't know, I'm also at the top of my teenage, like, angst. So,
Yeah.
like, no, you piece of garbage. But then he explained, like, this guy who wasn't a student, I think he was a drug dealer. I don't think. I know for a fact he was a drug dealer.
Okay.
So he was a drug dealer, and he basically lived in our room because our other roommates were like super close with him and stuff. I can't remember his name. It was a fake name. He used a fake name.
Dang. That's psychopathic stuff right there.
And he always wore sunglasses. I wonder why. So he had come in and knocked Curtis's spit bottle, like chewing tobacco, spit bottle, over into my computer and fried it. So that computer was gone.
Sweet.
Yep. So that's 3 computers down.
Yeah, it is. We're already in the beginning of Act 2 and 3 computers are down, Noah.
How many more will there be?
Well, tell me that eye-opening moment where you decided you had to get serious about music. Okay,
Right.
You guys started transcribing stuff, but was there any encounters with teachers or something at the beginning?
No. It was really a very slow descent. Like, it seemed really great and all flowers and roses.
Because you were doing it.
Because I was doing the thing I wanted to do, and I was in a new place.
Mm-hmm.
And everything just started billowing at once. You know, the flames were rising.
Yeah.
And the real moment, like, I started to, like, get behind on classes, and I smoked pot for the first time, and we were going to parties, and my relationship was failing, and everything was, like, dying.
Some of the stuff that you brought with you from your past life, all that you brought with you, was kind of being stripped away, huh?
Exactly. Yeah.
Even your computers, your possessions, your love interests, all this
who I
stuff.
thought I was, everything was just laid out in front of me, and a hammer was brought down.
Yeah.
On the table. But the moment, I remember the exact moment. I went to this vocal competition, NATS. It's called NATS, National Association of Teachers of Singing. Vocal competition, and it goes from like pre-collegiate level to like master students and stuff like that. People who have already graduated, but you're divided into your specific grade level, essentially.
Okay.
So I remember it was me and a bunch of my fellow students from Morehead, vocal students, and all of them had got to the second round. It's a round process, and they all moved on to the second round except for me, and that was devastating.
How many people were there that made it and you didn't?
I think at least probably 8 or 10.
Yeah, it's pretty significant.
Pretty significant number. So I was distraught.
Felt pretty bad, huh?
Felt pretty bad, and I knew, like, I never wanted to feel that.
Did you, when you sang the piece, were you like, man, that was trash, or you were like, I did all right?
I thought it was like, oh,
okay,
I did the thing.
But then they had to cut one person, and you were out.
I was out. But they made me feel good because they said it was by 1 point or whatever.
Oh, okay.
I don't believe them. Yeah, that's just a nicety.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I didn't make it on, and I just had to watch my friends sing in the next round, and then it was just me, all alone, with the teachers, waiting. But I knew I never wanted to feel like that again. And I told Dr. Prindle, my voice teacher at the time, I told her that I don't want to feel like that ever again. What do I do? And she told me that I was like a diamond in the rough, and that I need to make a promise to her that I'm just going to try and not stop. And we bumped fists, and that's
Put in
when
there,
it
Dr.
began.
Prindle.
Exactly. We really did.
That's awesome.
We hugged, but we bumped fists at that time. And after that, I practiced extremely. And by practice, I mean I went into practice rooms. I learned my songs all in various languages. So I had to know the diction, which is how to pronounce it. I had to know the melodies. I had to figure out how to do that with my voice.
What did you have to know these songs for? Was there like I don't know, did you have to execute to perform every month or at an annual competition for the semester, or how is that set up? Like, how do you get does each class have something like that? Because you're going to school for music, so it's not like you have to pass a board exam or something.
Right. No.
You just have to probably perform, or
Yeah, we have a performance class that's once a week, and you could get called randomly to sing.
oh really?
Yeah, so you gotta be on your toes.
Do they have songs that they expect you to know if that's going to happen?
Yes, so it's gonna be like songs from your lessons, which is also once a week. I
Okay.
think. I can't remember, but you're working on songs in your lessons, and then you would perform those songs in the performance class in front of your peers. So you also don't want to look like an idiot in front of these people
Yeah.
that are doing the same thing as you.
If you haven't practiced at all, you don't know, you don't even know how to go through the song. Are you allowed to read with music and stuff?
No and yes, it depends on your teacher.
Oh yeah.
Eric Brown didn't let us do that. Like, we had to know. Don't look at the music. But Dr. Prindle was a little more lenient in that aspect.
Sure.
So it was dependent. But there's also the finals of all your classes, and then they all have some sort of performance base to them, except for your theory class. But your music reading, you had to do a reading final where you're kind of doing the rhythm for them, performing the rhythm for them that you're reading for the first time, and then you have to sing for juries, which is in front of the voice staff, and you sing for them, and then they grade you on your performance. That's the last thing at the end of the semester. And if you're a sophomore, you can't even get to be a junior unless you pass your sophomore jury. So there's...
What's the criteria? I mean, how do they judge that if you're ready to move on?
It probably something along the lines of like tone and how much are you actually improving? Are you staying the same? Your diction, the memory, you're like, how much effort are you putting in? That's probably the biggest thing. Like, are you actually here to do this, or are you just goofing off? Mm-hmm. Then there's some like leniency there of like, this person isn't the most talented, but that's okay,
Yeah.
Which was probably me in my case. Mm-hmm. But once I started really buckling down, there were numerous nights that I had fallen asleep in the practice room. Mm-hmm. I just brought a pillow and I slept on the floor, and I woke up to the janitors coming in to clean it's just a small little box room with a piano in it. And they would open the door and be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you." And I was like, "I didn't expect you to see me. Thanks for waking me up." And then...
did you feel like, I am on the grind, I will sleep on the floor in the piano room?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a level of like...
That's my favorite scenery right there.
Yep. So there was a level of like, I need to disregard my own like needs right now.
If you were doing that, was it because you were trying to get ready for some kind of exam or some sort of performance? You needed to spend some extra hours in the practice room, or
Nope.
No?
Nope. It was purely to be better than I was. And it worked.
Really? When did you start noticing a progression in yourself?
I remember I didn't notice anything, okay? And that's probably the case for how that would go for anyone. You know, you're just hearing yourself all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's such a slow progression that any increase in skill is negligible.
Yeah.
To your ears. So I was singing, I think it was Revenge, Timotheus Cries, which is a Handel piece.
Handel piece? No, all
Handel
this,
is
all
a
this
composer.
terminology.
No, Handel is a composer.
Okay, okay. Is it in English?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And I was practicing that song, and I did it for a performance class, and everyone seemed surprised. I don't want to say they were surprised.
Were the 9 people that made it to the second round of that Nats thing, were they there while you were singing Revenge?
Yeah,
after you'd been sleeping on the floor?
Most of them.
Hopefully. I'm just trying to compile all the pieces of the story here, Noah, to make it more epic, you know?
Right. Yeah, some of them were there, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. There was 2 voice classes, so they're, you know. But they were, like, surprised after I'd sung that and commenting on, wow, you've gotten better. And you kind of hear that anyways, you know, just people being nice and trying to encourage you. But it felt real.
You believed them?
I believed them. And I kept doing it until the end. And I felt, by the time I got to the end, this was the upswing of hell, essentially.
Okay.
Where I was improving. I knew I was improving. I felt good about myself vocally and musically. And I had confidence, and I felt like I could go somewhere and I can do all these things. And I had a rivalry with me and my friend. And that pushed me a lot. It was probably unhealthy in a lot of ways, especially when we roomed together. But that helped it a lot.
It was pretty
too.
competitive, huh?
Definitely. And I hope, I don't know this, but I hope I didn't come across snobby, like I was the top dog, you know.
Towards the end of in your senior year or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I have flaws like everyone else, and I feel like maybe that could have came out. And if it did, it was totally a defense thing for my own ego.
Oh man, survive. I know I was for sure. By the time I was a senior and like in our art classes, we went into the art classes like ready to, or the design classes, the design creeks, ready to argue, just like ready to make the most outlandish possible thing we could for the logo design or something, and then just argue about why it is or isn't a logo for like the next 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But we were just enthusiastic about, you would be enthusiastic about the progression you made and want to justify that somehow, or so tell me a little bit more about that when you were at the end there.
At the end, it came very fast, and it left very fast, to the point where it's kind of a blur. A lot of my friends were gone, closer friends were gone. They had graduated, and I had got so obsessed with getting better that I neglected a lot of my friends that I had, and I missed a lot of opportunities to develop those friendships and keep those friendships. So there was a price that was paid.
Maybe.
And towards the end, it was just, I was on the railroad tracks, and I was just letting the train go. And I knew I wanted to go to grad school and do an opera program at UK. So I went there and had a lesson with one of the professors there. And that went really well, and I was accepted into the program, but...
I didn't even know this part.
Yep, and something didn't feel right. Maybe it was just fear. Maybe it was a craving for something new. I don't know what it really was, but I didn't go to grad school, obviously. and I started to pursue songwriting. It could have had something to do with mushrooms. Because when I was 22, and I think I was a senior. Yep, I was a senior at the time. I was really depressed. What they call passively suicidal, which is, I guess how I would explain it is, I wouldn't care to be hit by a bus. I'm not going to walk out in front of the bus, but if it hits me, sounds good. And I was really Christian. You're probably what you would think of as your Pentecostal, talking in tongues, stuff like that. And I remember crying in my car, and I don't really know why. And I was just asking God, like, save me, like, help me in this situation. I don't feel right. Something is wrong, and I don't really know what it is. I was on meds for anxiety and depression, and those didn't help. They did for a time, but then they didn't. So then I, for some reason, had this idea, like, so the Beatles, I don't know why I thought about the Beatles, but I was like, man, they took so many drugs and LSD and stuff. But then I was like, what does that even do? What is LSD? People talk about seeing dragons and, like, lots of hallucinations, but what is it really? So I started to learn about psychedelics. I came across mushrooms and how at Johns Hopkins they were doing research on psilocybin mushrooms and how it can help depression. And like 70+% of the people that took a mushroom trip said they were cured of depression for up to 6 months. And then some of them relapsed, but not all of them. And then my friend had a sister in Tennessee, and we went down there, and I took a huge dose, the one that was scary to even them, but I knew I had to do all of it. This wasn't just like a have fun drug experience. This was like,
Is mushrooms a drug?
Well, drugs, the word drug it's really used very freely, and it's not really defined the best. Like, you could say alcohol is a drug. You could say caffeine is a drug. You could say
they are.
Yeah. So, in a way, yes. But then, what isn't a drug? The categorization needs to be a little more clear before you can answer that properly.
It's like culturally now, people would probably respond different to, like, I took mushrooms, opposed to, like, I stuck a needle in my arm and did heroin.
Right.
There's people make a clear distinction now, so I was just wondering how you thought about that.
Sure. There's the whole, like, idea that
did you at all think, like, I shouldn't do this, or you were, like, trying to save your life at that point?
I was trying to save my life at that point. So I took this big dose of mushrooms, and we won't get into the experience, but when I came back, the game was changed.
You can get into the experience a little bit. What was so revelatory about it, Noah? Because people don't, if someone's never heard of or heard someone explain a mushroom experience, it's like, it could sound like you just got intoxicated, and like, what would that really change?
Right. No, it was a little more. It was a lot more. Essentially, once the walls started to move in a big way. This isn't just like they were shaking a little. They were like waves of the ocean. Once the trip kicked in, my mind was free from the structure that our culture has placed upon it. There are boundaries that the ego puts on meaning and words so that we can completely understand the things that we're saying, the feelings that we're trying to express. But once I arrived in the trip, those boundaries were gone. There was a level of ego dissolution where I can separate myself from the experience I'm having, and I don't have this incessant need to place meaning upon the things that I'm seeing. So there was a level of freedom, and with that, what happened in my head, whether or not you believe that it is anything more than that.
Quick interjection. I happen to believe it's not just happening in your head.
Me too.
Yeah.
But even if you do think it's just in my head, the experience that I was having was more than anything I could have ever comprehended or even imagined. So having an experience like that where you see something beyond, a unicorn, something that we conceptualize but we've never seen physically, or perfect, the idea of perfection. We don't really see that, but we've created the idea of perfection. When you see beyond that conceptualization to what is possible, it changed the way I see the world. There's just in the way that there are so many possibilities that the truth is more elusive than I had thought. Mm-hmm. I was very arrogant in that I thought I had things figured out. I thought I had these ideas that were grand and full of some level of truth, but when I had that experience afterwards, I realized I was a fool, and that those ideas were nothing more than just an idea. So there was a level of humility and connection. Man, I loved everything after that.
I actually remember talking to you pretty soon after that. It pretty much blew the doors off of what, I don't know. It really did. It was like you were a little Lego person, and those Legos got scattered everywhere, and then you were trying to pick that stuff back up. It slowly started to piece together again, but it seemed like a welcomed rite of passage or something to you.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. It felt like
I think
dispersion.
You explained something like that to me before, that it's like everything gets blown away, all these structures, categories, and stuff. Let me ask you this: would you tell anybody to do that? Do you think that's the place that you saw behind the veil? Do you think that's a dangerous place?
I don't think it's up for me to decide that for someone else. There's a level of probably responsibility that I need to take here, where I don't think everyone is ready to see that. Not to sound as if I am somehow special, that I was completely ready to experience that. But some people don't want to see that. I was looking, and I found something that I was looking for in a lot of ways. But if you're not searching, don't don't grab the magnifying glass. If you are not searching, do not grab the magnifying glass.
Yeah, on the topic of like whether or not it's an experience happening inside your head, I remember asking you that early on. I was like, do you think this is something that's just centralized here? Like, one, as if that discredits it somehow, but if you see if you see an elephant standing in the room all of a sudden, or something that dramatic, you didn't see that, but if you see something that dramatic and it just, something about, if you see there's a place behind our physical experience, even if that's just in your head, that doesn't necessarily discredit it. I mean, it's pretty amazing to see something. It's pretty amazing to see a whole world vividly, even if it's just in your head. Okay, yeah. But there's I don't believe in just a materialistic world. I think there is a spiritual world, and the Bible confirms that. It even in like when they use, I've said this before, when they use the word sorcery in the Bible, like they condemn sorcery in the Bible, but the root word of it is pharmakia, and it has a relation to pharmaceuticals or some plants of the earth and things. And why do you think, from a theological perspective, why do you think in the Christian religion that would be condemnable if you had or condemned if you had such a positive experience with it? I'm trying to think that through. Why do you think that would be condemned?
Now?
Yeah. Then, now, if that seems to be a clear path to some sort of enlightenment, why would it be something that seems, at least from my understanding, seems to be forbidden fruit or something?
Yeah.
I'm honestly asking your opinion.
Well, a couple things. I think during the time that the Bible was written, perhaps, like today, their use of pharmakeia.
Mm-hmm.
Their use of the word pharmakeia, we don't quite know what it completely encapsulates. Are they adding mushrooms to that category, or are they only talking about some other thing that has been being passed around at the time and is hurting people? Or it's hard to say.
Sure, it could be a definitional thing.
Right.
If they meant, do you think they could mean that? Do you think they could mean mushrooms? I mean, I have some ideas of maybe why, but I'd like to hear from your perspective, because you've done the mushrooms.
Yeah.
I don't even bring up this debate with you thinking that oh, well, it would be nice to do it because I'm scared to do it. I wouldn't take mushrooms because I'm literally man, it sounds like something really intense, and I like the veil. I love going past the veil in my imagination, because I'm within control of that, and I'm very familiar with it.
Yeah.
But to do something like that sounds like a serious descent into the unknown.
That's a lot of chaos.
Yeah,
a lot of unknown, and that's partially why I think it is viewed in a negative way, because as people, we fear the unknown, or at least we place upon it this derogatory sensation, and that's why maybe when we don't understand someone, their perspective or what they're saying, we get angry. Or you see this in politics all over the place. But even back then, let's say that they were talking about mushrooms.
We're gonna get back to your music. I'm sorry, this is such a tangent, but I think it's interesting. Go ahead.
Let's say there was a Christian, and he encounters someone who is describing their experience of mushrooms and how they had seen God, or have experienced heaven on earth, or numerous other ways you can describe a mushroom experience. Naturally, their definitions are not going to line up, and what they're saying, like the guy who took mushrooms, he uses the word God, and the person who hasn't taken mushrooms, they use the word God as well, but he's going to think they can't be talking about the same God, because there could be numerous reasons for him saying because he hasn't seen God, and he's a very holy man, and I haven't even seen God. How could you see God? And then there's the use of a substance to do so. Like you're using a tool that inebriates you in a lot of ways and makes you incoherent. Because if you talk to someone on mushrooms, you're going to think they're crazy. So there's going to be that part of it as well. As this guy, he went mad, and then when he came back, he said he saw God. Well, that's true. You do go mad, but there's something in the madness that is not.
It's not as if I can't equate it. The interesting thing is, it's not as if I can't equate it to having a deeply engaged art experience. Like you get in that flow, and in some way you're so hyper focused on it that it's not like everyday experience. It's like a state of mind change. Your state of mind changes, and you're in a new place when you're making art in a really focused way. And mushrooms seems to be like a more extreme form of that, maybe, or any sort of psychedelic. You know?
Yeah, there's creativity happening to you in both scenarios. In a flow state, you know, you're there's two things happening. Your ego is being pulled back to where your conscious feeling of I, Nick or Noah, is out of the way, and that there are still experiences happening that a piece of you gets to take part in. And then in mushrooms, it's the same experience. Your ego is pulled back or destroyed, and there's still a piece of you that gets to partake in this experience. But in the mushrooms case, there's so many sensory things happening that you get to bring a lot back. And in the flow state, if you're doing that artistically, you're expressing instead of taking in, I think. And so there's an ebb and flow there with, like, one is this spongy experience and one is the expulsion of whatever is inside. I don't know, rambling.
No, we're trying to get at what it means. We're trying to get at what it means, and so we have to do some, like, formulating. What it comes down to for me is that, you know, just in how I think about it, whether I think it's right or wrong. I have to keep, as a Christian, I have to keep my sobriety. So I you know, anything that changes that into an extreme of a form, I'm just wary of.
Sure.
But those substances have been used for a long time, and to achieve some sort of spiritual experience. One interesting critique I've heard of before, as maybe a closing point, I'd like to hear your opinion on. One critique I have heard of it before is, like, spiritual experience maybe is most valuable in community. Like, for instance, what is a church for, or what is a temple for? So everyone's acting out the same story together. And when you have such a dramatic, singular spiritual experience, like almost like a monastic experience where you go out into the desert, symbolically what you do in the trip is you go out in the desert alone, and you see something that no one else sees. And the critique I've heard is, I wonder what that means for how you live out, how you know which direction to go afterwards, because it scatters you like you're the Lego person,
right,
and then it blows you apart. And then you come back and you're trying to pick up the pieces, and you're like, what story am I in?
Sure.
You know what I mean? What do you think about that?
Well, when you take psychedelics, specifically mushrooms, I won't talk about the other ones. I like mushrooms a lot. You have to go it alone, like you're saying. And
I mean, we are all in some sense alone in our journey. We all have our subjective experience. I'm not discrediting that. I'm not trying to make a weak argument out of it. You know.
No, it's but it's more than that on mushrooms, because when you come back, there is a level of isolation that's happening because you've experienced something that no one else is experiencing, like you just said. So your perspective is going to be different. Your meanings are going to be different. The words you choose to use are going to be different. And you're not addicted to a belief. Not that all addictions to belief are bad or negative, but you're free from that in a lot of ways. And it's hard for people to hold on to you. Which, when we're trying to build a community, that's kind of what we like to do. We'll find the people that are like us and then hold on to them in some way, or like appeal to them so that they
There's a part
stay.
of that, for sure. There's a part of that.
But at the same time, you're also, when you come back, you're looking for others like you. Who else has had this experience? You need to talk to somebody about it. Who's going to understand me now? And that's there's a level of isolation that you go through. Archaically, the use of psychedelics has been used in such a way, like shamanic rituals, So the shaman goes on a journey alone. And when he comes back, he shares his revelation with the people. And then the people benefit from that. So like the shaman, I think after you come back from this journey that only you have gone on, when you come back, it's not your job or responsibility to find people that are like you. And it's not your job to figure out which direction do I go now. It's more of the shaman's role. I've gone and I've found these things on the other side. And now that I'm back, who is willing to receive what I have? And you don't necessarily have to go and look them out or search for them. But if they arrive in need, you have something for them. Not to act like the savior or anything, but as far as beliefs and religious structures and conceptualizations in me, that's about as far as I'll go. Is if you come to me and you ask me a question, I'll share my thought, what I've got off the other side on my journey. But other than that, I'll tell you my ideas. I'll tell you some ideas. I'll tell you what I feel in the moment. I don't know.
That was articulate. I mean, that was articulate, Noah. That's been on my mind recently. Not that exactly, the shamanic experience. There are hints of the shamanic experience in the artistic life and making the piece of art and going down into it and coming back out with this vision.
Exactly.
With artists are magicians somehow in that way. Like, they make something out of nothing. Here's this vision. Here's this little glimpse behind everything,
Yes.
And it's so weird. Okay, from that topic, let's jump radically. This is still related.
Okay.
All right. How do you think you go down into We the Water EP, and you come up with that last song, that my favorite song on that EP, actually, I Am, and I am the wine, I am the bread. How do you come back with a Christolic theme like that, a Christ theme? Where does that come from, and what does that mean in that song? Not that, you don't have to answer, is this, it's not a binary answer, what does it mean? Because we're trying to figure that out right now. But where did that come from, Noah? Because it's really compelling. When I listened to it for the first time, I was like standing in the kitchen right there and had my headphones on. And it was emotionally powerful, and I felt something like very meaningful, and in my own Christian experience, like I received that in a way that seemed to confirm my beliefs and things like that. Everyone will receive it a little bit differently, but is it weird that it did that? I mean, is it weird that I'm like, yes, Christ is like Christ to me is the one, and the mystery of the bread and the wine, that's powerful. I felt that. Like, why do I feel that there? And you brought that revelation. How do you think about that? I don't know. Jump into it. I'm floundering here now. I'm floundering to try to explain it. What does that song mean?
Yeah, so there are characters in that song, which is the voices, right? The man is asking the woman, who are you? And you can take this as the man, the archetypical man asking the archetypical woman, who are you? And then she's going to answer, I'm everything, you idiot. Like, look at me. I know you think it.
The divine
right.
Woman.
The divine woman. So you could take it there, or there's something more. It doesn't have to be about a man and woman. It can be someone asking, just anyone asking a piece of yourself, or it doesn't matter. You're asking the question into the air, into the universe. Who are you? What is happening to me? And the answer is, it's obvious, but you're everything, you know. I'm the living and the dead. That's an oxymoron, you know.
Yeah.
Like, there's a level of juxtaposition there, but I don't know. It's so hard. It's so hard to find the articulation for this.
That's okay. We're just formulating. Like, if you knew exactly what it meant, maybe you would have just said it instead of made the music.
Right. You know? Exactly.
You're exploring it in the music making process, and to a certain point, that's going to hit more powerfully than people finding the perfect words for it. Even though the perfect words might exist somewhere out there. They might.
I'll go ahead. I'll say I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know what is happening.
It was a mysterious thing to me, Noah, why I again felt somehow confirmed and just like, oh, this is a Christ thing. I don't know what place Noah wrote this from, but I don't know. I could feel some sort of presence with it, not to get too mystical, but I could feel some sort of presence with it, and like it was a beautiful thing. What you'd done was a beautiful thing, and
thanks. Well, I didn't do it. It just
it just
arrived,
sure.
right?
Exactly.
Which is why I have no idea what is happening.
You put like the mechanisms, like an alchemist. You put the mechanisms, line them up,
sure,
and then some weird momentum starts to knock those dominoes over.
Right, the transmutation arrives.
Yeah.
I'll say that I did choose to evoke the Christ image because it's likely.
Hasn't Megan asked you before why you do that?
Yeah, and
does it feel like almost like you're an insulting thing to her or something, or like she's just wondering, like why does this keep coming up in different things? Not that it happens in every song, just
right. I don't want to talk for her too much, but I'll say like it's more of like a annoyance. Like everyone is using these things, and she would say to me like, "You're not even Christian." And what? Or like Dave Matthews is like using all these Christian images, but why? You know.
What's that song, Noah? That when we went to University Village to work that one weekend, you played it in the car, and he's like. Building up slowly to "I wanna believe in Jesus." He's screaming it.
Yeah, it's two-step live in New York, 2012, I think.
Even the thing that's mysterious about these themes, like yours and then Dave's, and what fascinates me is like when Dave is screaming, "I wanna believe in Jesus," like it's not as if I don't feel that. Like I feel it very heavily, even if he's using it in some satirical way or something.
Yeah.
It resonates so powerfully with me, you know?
Yeah. That's what it kind of came down to is I knew that this is so powerful. The story of Christ is very powerful, regardless of whether or not you believe it or not. The imagery that it can evoke and the feelings that people in the West know this story. So, like maybe the Romans, they had all these gods, but they didn't necessarily believe that they physically existed, or not physically maybe, but they didn't necessarily believe that they were entities. Rather, the stories were what were important. So, like that in the West, whether or not you believe in Jesus doesn't really matter. You know the story to your core.
On some level, it's built up in us. Yeah,
it is cultural, and the emotions that you can evoke through people's knowledge of that story are important. You know,
is it that calculated for you? It's like, wow, this is really powerful, or does it I'm going to place this in here, or does it happen more intuitively, like the bread and the wine? Like, does that just come out when you're riffing, or do you write it down and you're like, I'm going to do this. You know?
Actually, you reminded me. When I was writing that song, that was a riff. That was improv. Like, I do a lot of that when I write, is I'll just play the the instrumental that I wrote, and then I'll make up weird sounds and words over top of it. That's how that came.
Don't let me forget, we're going to get into your ideal process day. Okay, after this.
Yep. So that came when I was improvising, and I was like, yeah, that's it. That's what I needed. And that's all I thought. I'm not trying to make a statement necessarily by using Christian terminology, but that was the right emotion for the piece. Yeah,
it was. I really believe it was. Something interesting. If you're, I think I mentioned this to you. A little background on that System of a Down song, Chop Suey.
Yeah.
That one. Who's the lead singer? Do you know?
Yeah.
What's his name? That Turkish guy, right?
Yeah. Serge Tankian.
Okay. Yeah. He was talking about how he was trying to write that song, and he was at a library, and he had these other images of like a woman, with the keys on the table, and all these kind of mundane images. And then he went to a library to try to get inspiration to finish the song. And he pulls a book off the shelf, and he opens it, and it's those words in the chorus. What are the words in the chorus? Something about my self-righteous suicide.
Yeah.
I
Cry when angels
cried.
deserve to die.
Yeah, when angels deserve to. Yeah, what's the first part of it, though? Something about my self-righteous suicide. He
Trust in my self-righteous suicide.
Yeah, and he puts in the words that Jesus says on Mount Gethsemane.
Father,
Father, why have you forsaken me? Yeah. And just the fact that he opened to a book that was like the pinnacle of Christ's crucifixion, and he contrasts that with like mundane everyday experience. I don't know. I have no idea what that means, that happened and that song came out, but it's such a bizarre song, and it resonates so... I mean, it's like their most popular song, right? Chop Suey. Mm-hmm. And then you have people in the background that are like... like at random parts of the breakdown, and it's real choppy, and it's kind of like... It was kind of like they're interfacing with something in that song, Beyond the Veil, like mundane experience, and all of a sudden, Christ crucified, and self-righteous suicide, and it sounds almost like he's satirizing it, but at the same time, it's like...
Which is a great which is a great comparison to Twin Peaks. It's literally the same thing.
Man, you are... Yes, Noah, I agree. I agree. That's kind of what Twin Peaks feels like, isn't it? Yeah, they're in the diner, and I don't know, Bobby's dad is like, son, I had a revelation, which is not to be confused with a dream, which is just a recapitulation of the previous day's events in a narrative sequence or something. And Bobby's like crying because his dad's like opening up to him in this like beautiful way, and he's the guy.
It's such an undercurrent.
Of the higher planes, right?
Sure, yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Okay. Well, speaking on We the Water, definitely, guys, go listen to the whole EP. My favorite, maybe in a cliche way, is I Am. I Can't Help It. The other songs are also really good. I've listened to the album. I've listened to the EP at least 15 times conservatively. Okay, 15 times, Noah. But tell me, I don't know. Do you want to talk about like your ideal process? Do you want to talk a little more on the album? Which one first?
We can just do the process.
Okay, yeah. What you have an ideal day. You imagine an ideal day. What's the best day? Can you remember the best day you had making music, and how long you did it for? The kind of things you were doing, and just kind of walk me through that.
Wow, the best day. I don't know if I have a specific best day, because they're all hard. And when I think of the difficulty in them, it just ruins it.
Really?
It ruins the image of it. So there's no best day, but there are days that I push through the difficulty more. The Stephen Pressfield resistance the idea of resistance. I push through the resistance more, and those days feel good. So it would be something like I wake up, let's say I'm writing a song. I wake up, pull up Logic, get the microphone set, and I'll just go to town improvising on the guitar until something clicks. Something clicks. I play it again more cleanly to a metronome, and then I will improv vocally until something clicks. I'll pull up a notepad, I'll type lyrical ideas, and I have a bunch of lyrical ideas already in my notes, so then I'll try to pull thematically similar things over into the new song until
stuff that you thought was good,
look.
so you don't have to just like write everything from scratch or something.
I'll be going through a day, and I'll read you one.
Okay.
That'll be fun.
Please do.
So they're all in these notes in my phone called pickle jars.
Pickle jars.
Because the very first one, so like how in your Apple Notes you type something and that's the title of it. If it's the first thing, that becomes the title. So the first idea that I had to put in my phone was pickle jar because it's a vagina. And I was like, wow, I am so smart. So I put pickle jar in my phone. I'll never use that, but someone else can. Okay.
I'm completely lost of how it was connected to female genitalia at all, Noah.
I don't want to explain it.
Okay.
Someone will understand.
All right, go ahead.
Okay.
Probably for the best.
Right. So, okay, here's some from my phone. Trivial thoughts make for trivial dreams. That's fun. Too long in the forest. They can be just titles sometimes. Mm-hmm. Or sometimes, I don't know. It's just thoughts about like what's happening. If like we're hanging out with our friends, and I'll just start typing to my phone. Talk about work. Work. All we do. Tell me more. Is there anything else we could talk about to this degree? So it can be anything. But if I think it has some possible use later, then I'll put it in my phone. Mm-hmm. So I'll do that, and then eventually a song starts to form, and I start producing it slowly.
So you're riffing. Let me get this straight.
Yeah.
You open up the Logic mic. You're riffing. Something picks up. You go to some notes. You pull from that note library. And what about the other instrumentation? When is that safe or even productive to pull in? Like drums and
Usually it's after the basic demo. Just
you really try to get down you and the guitar and the vocals.
Me, the guitar,
right?
and the vocals, and to a point where it's okay, where I'm not like, ugh,
Yeah.
So after that, then I'll remove the vocals, and I'll play the guitar even more cleanly, and I'll plug it into like
acoustic or electric.
Acoustic, or usually acoustic, and then I'll add probably background vocals or keys, anything that makes it feel right. So, but then I go to town. Lots of background vocals. That makes me feel good. And then
You've mentioned that's because of your, operatic background and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
That's probably the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, eventually it starts to look good and it feels good. And I could probably get at least half of all the instrumentation done, probably about half of all the instrumentation from beginning to that point in a day. If I just sit there and don't listen to
This
Please
hurts. Stop.
This, I need a snack, Are you sure you don't want to take a bath? You don't even take baths.
Yeah. You can get that demo. Are you saying you can get that demo with just you and the guitar, make it clean in a day?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then add probably half of the instrumental.
Average, how long does that take? Like what, that demo? 5 hours?
Just
4 hours?
The demo
3?
part. It depends on if I can find the song. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like if it's a long search, here's an example. the song I did for the opening of this.
Yeah.
Max maybe took 4 hours, 5 hours. So it was a fast finding of the song. The rest of it was a lot of production, but the finding of it was quick. And then with, let's say, I Am, that took numerous days.
Yeah.
From the opening Latin stuff to the middle drums.
It's also a 7-minute song,
It's
right?
also 7 minutes. So
yeah.
there was a lot there. But, okay, let's say a different... Worthy. No, that's terrible. It all differs, because Worthy took literally an hour.
Really?
So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you think you were doing right with that one?
Deadline.
Yeah? You were like, I just got to get this out.
It was the day before the Vern Reif concert.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I needed it. And it came. That was it.
Good.
Yeah.
Deadlines are productive, aren't
Deadlines are good. Everybody.
Tell me about how you set up some deadlines for yourself in that when you decided to write these EPs. I mean, you're not just releasing one EP, you're doing a couple, right? I don't know how much you want to talk about that. Talk about as much of that as you feel comfortable.
Sure. It's a trilogy.
Yeah.
And essentially, there was a point where Nick, I called him on the phone. I said, Nick, I want to write songs, but I can't. They're not coming. I don't know what to do. And this was after I wrote Worthy, and the concert happened, and then COVID started to come in and stuff, and I just didn't, it wasn't happening for me. So Nick said, Noah, he gave me a deadline. He said 1 song a month. How does that sound? And I said, no, 3 songs. I want to do 3 songs a month.
Then I was like, 8 songs, take it or leave it. That's 2 every week. That's totally doable.
It is good on the fly math.
I didn't say that. No, I was trying to be. We all got to start small. I started writing 20 minutes a day. That was my quota. That was it.
No, it's good. It was a really good thing.
And 3 songs was good for you.
3 songs was really excellent because I got to flesh them out just enough and not hold on to them for, too long. Because if you hold on to them too long, nothing will ever happen to them. There has to be a release point, and that was mine, probably a week and a half per song.
Why did you follow through with it when you were like, there's no way this is going to... part of your brain's like, this is just me writing some songs. No one's paying me to do this. I could be doing other... Maybe I could be doing other stuff. Maybe I'm wasting my time. Why did you do this time? Because, for a month you were doing the notations and you stopped. Why did you follow through with this one? With this project? Because it's pretty ambitious. 3 a month. You were going to make some EPs out of that. At first, it was going to be 1 album, right?
It was, yeah.
We were like, you could do 3 a month, and then at the end of the year, which is a long time. No, wait. It was at the end of the year, and we were already in the summer. It was August or something like that. Like at the end of the year, after 6 months, we're going to start polishing these. And why did you follow through with that? Because that's a long time to do something.
Yeah.
How did you?
Whew.
Practically, what's some practical ways?
So, why I did it, I don't really know. I felt like I had to. It could be because I told you I would. And there was a level of accountability that needed to happen. But I was also sending them out to 10 other people. I think that was the real trick. Because then there's 10 people who know you're supposed to be doing something, and you don't want to disappoint them, or you don't want them to think that you're not doing anything, or who knows. There's numerous reasons why sending or telling a bunch of people can be beneficial. Don't tell everybody, then it's a hindrance, because then you won't do it. Yeah. I don't know why that is.
Yeah, because it's like if you tell everybody, it's like just as anonymous as if you told no one almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no I don't know.
There's not concrete people. You had little folders, Google Drive. You'd send them out that month with the folder, right?
Yep.
How was the feedback when you did that? How invested do you think people were compared to what you were?
It was different per person. Some people would give me maybe I really like this one more than the other one, and I don't know why, or this song reminded me of this person. You sent me very elaborate notes. Other people told me the lines that they like lyrically. It really was all over the place.
I knew nothing about music, basically know nothing, so I just would send you stuff on the lyrics.
But there's something to like valuable about a lay person.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. Giving feedback.
And then you followed, like, part of that mechanism, the feedback process, made you do it. Was it like painful to go back to the first ones after you'd done 6 months worth of songs in that first month in August or whatever, in August and September? Was it painful?
When I got to January, are we talking about like polishing them up?
Yeah, it's time to polish now.
Right.
How does that feel?
When I got to January, it took me probably until March to actually do it, just because it was another weird, I don't know what to do. This is so much work. No one was holding me accountable.
Yeah.
It was just another hole that I got into. And then once I started in March-ish, into February, it was fun. And that helped motivate me. Writing songs isn't always fun. Like, it can be miserable, actually.
Yeah.
But...
Word, bro.
But the production part was a little more fun, because I start to actually hear, like, the flower blooming.
Yeah.
You know, when you're writing, it's like they're gray blocks. But when you're producing, it's like colorful daisies in a forest.
You start listening back to some of it and you're like, that's not so bad, you know?
Yeah.
That could be kind of cool.
Could be cool. What else can I do? Which is fun. And that also helps me write more songs, because I know eventually it'll get to that, which is fun.
Yeah, and so you originally intended an album, but it went another direction, obviously, with the EPs, right?
Yep. I could have done an album still. I have the songs to do an album. And
you'll use those
and
things.
I will use these EPs. Eventually they will become an album. They're more of a step-by-step journey into the album. So the album's going to be the same songs as the 3 EPs, but they'll be together. And you'll have heard the process of building the album, essentially. It's like you're on the journey with me in a way. So yeah, I'm working on this second one. It's essentially done.
Is there anything you want to say about... People can listen to the first one. Is there anything you want to say about the direction of the next one, or where you are at in that process when you're dropping, anything like that?
So, We the Water second fall will... it's soon. I'm not going to give you a date yet, but...
Wait, whoa, what about the, coming up on the 7th? Do you have something else?
The 7th, I guess for those of you listening, it is a Tim Buckley song, a cover song, and I think you'll like it. It's cool. You might not like it, but if you do, that's cool. So watch out for that Friday, and We the Water Part 2 it's darker. The songs are darker. If you don't like that, hold out until the third one. It's more light.
Do you like this one more that you're doing right now, or can you know yet? Can you really know?
I can't really know.
Do you feel, obviously you feel better at making music because you finally did the thing. You got it out there.
Yeah.
And people responded pretty good, right?
Yep.
I mean, people were sharing a lot of your stuff. And it seemed like, wow, someone completed a project, and a friend of ours that we know, he just brought this vision to completion here, right? That was really cool. I mean, how do you anticipate the second to go? Because now you're on the grind, because you already did the thing, all the ceremony. Yeah. Maybe the ceremony won't be completely attached in the same way.
Right. No. There's a new level of fear. The first EP, the fear was, no one's ever heard me before.
Yeah.
I have to come out strong. I want people to like it. Things like of that nature. Now there's an expectation, a level that I've set, a standard that needs to be met, and if it doesn't, it doesn't look good. It's like, wow, he's a one-hit wonder, essentially. So, yeah, and the fact that this one is darker is a little scary.
People like the darkness,
People like
though.
Darkness, yeah. That's what I try to tell myself. So, yeah, it's more of the underworld, the second one. The first one was a getting to, a venture into the new world, and then now it's pain.
Yep. Pain and suffering.
It is college.
This is college right here. Now, my thought is, like, whenever you're making the work, how could the next iteration not be better in some way? Even if it's better because you are continuing the progression.
Yeah.
You know, bands release their first albums and then people like that music and stuff. But the thing is, past marketability and all that, which is necessary, the artists want to progress too. The people that are making that music want to keep going and making new stuff.
Yeah.
And just because people fall in love with the nostalgia of one thing doesn't necessarily mean it's worse or anything like that. It's like the artists want to progress because we're moving towards something, and we got to figure out what that is.
We are, which is an interesting thing to consider, that should our art be like, the Romantics really screwed up art, because we were on a it seems like we were moving towards something very strongly in the art world.
You mean like in the virtue of how things looked like in the Enlightenment or something, or
yeah, like there was a very clear style that was happening, and if everyone's doing the same style and pushing that, then you would think you're going to break through eventually. And it seems like when the Romantic period came, we got sucked into like metaphors and being like super abstract to explain our ideals and emotions, and the style exploded upon itself, and it was everywhere after that.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that means. Maybe we've lost the way as a collective consciousness to break through to the other side,
to some vision of heaven.
Right.
Maybe like some vision of heaven on earth or something.
Exactly. Together, like maybe we've lost that, and now it's more of an individual experience. I don't know. And where does that happen in music? I also don't know.
Is there a clear progression in music where like it was classical and then you have hip hop, which is a mash together of all genres, and it becomes more materialistic and more, not that all hip hop's that, but it becomes more materialistic and more fleshly, like in not in a biblical sense. I mean in like the worst possible. It's like we're just kind of digging for sensations now. You know, everyone's just about the stimulation of it versus this is art and we're showing people beauty and goodness. You know, do you see that happen?
Definitely
in music.
Definitely, yeah. I don't know where it began. Probably rock and roll, but the death of God was rock and roll.
Yeah. There are, you know, that's a weird thing. There are definitely redemptive things in all music genres. But we seem to have, you know, the only thing about, bring it back to the psychedelic things real quick, because I want to go into, I don't know where you think this musical progression is going. But the reason why I'm interested in the one story, like the overarching story of, you know, what are we doing here and why, is because of that progression. From we lost it in the garden, now we are suffering on earth, and that suffering is going to turn us into something, like it's going to glorify us one day, God willing, you know. And Stephen Pressfield talks about this in the Artist's Journey, actually, that same thing. Even if you don't believe in the Christian story, symbolically that's being played out. He's not a Christian, but he kept talking about how we were in Eden, and the artist's job is to get us back there again. Like, it's trying to show us glimpses into that. It's showing, you know, I am, or the beautiful things that you're showing in that album, you know. It can take you there for a moment, and you're in some way, tell me if I'm wrong, you're trying to get back to this paradisal state. You're trying to reach your full progression, and maybe that will enlighten you somehow. You know?
Yeah. I mean, Terence McKenna also talks about that in A Return to the Archaic.
Mm-hmm.
How our natural progression is to return to, in a way, the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that weird that we would want to return to what was at the beginning?
Right.
Why?
I don't
What
know.
was at the beginning?
I don't know. Maybe the path selection is different at the beginning, or there's more resources available, and we chose the wrong one to begin with. I don't know. But yeah, I think through the artist, maybe this is the case for all artists or some artists. I don't know, but with what we're trying to do, there's something pulling us or pushing us to the things that we can't suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Just there is a magnetism or a hunger or just a smell. We're on the trail like
Mm-hmm.
a bloodhound in the forest, and it's dark, and we don't know what is producing this smell, but we've been trained to hunt down the smell, no matter what it is. It's our job. I don't know who gave us the job. I don't know.
But the job is something like find the art, maybe.
I don't know.
Because the art is like the little creature in the bush that if we follow and hunt it down, it's going to get us something. We're going to get closer somehow.
Right.
Or
Okay,
put a
so-
notch on the belt that'll make us more experienced hunters. We'll go back out there, to get the mythical creature,
Yeah. We have to become better hunters, but also, is God art?
That is a good question, Noah.
God
Well-
being like the ultimate thing.
Yeah, what is art? Okay, so we're at the point now of the podcast where, in the tagline, we're going deep into what we create and why. You've talked about what. You've brought us a little bit through your transformation. We went into the underground, and that starts forming you. You're being formed right now.
Mm-hmm.
Part of us are still in the underground, but you're being formed on this progression. You're transforming, but the question is into what? And so, what do you think that art is that you're making? Maybe let's start just real briefly with what you think art is.
Whoa.
Yeah, dude. Actually, I've never thought about it before. What am I doing? Who am I? Once you just start digging under all your presuppositions, you're just like, I actually don't know. Wait a minute, how did I get here? We're just losing our minds.
Damn it, Nick.
What do you think art is? No, react to this. I think art is on one level, it's all of these things, okay? And then there are distinctions you can draw between what is good and what is not. Maybe that's it. Art is whatever art is doing something really well. That's the virtue you find in the Renaissance. It's getting at that better and better image or music or something. Mm-hmm. Art is also expression, even like the Romantics. But expression can be I'm going to make this Virgin Mary out of feces, and then I'm going to put it up on display, and you know what? This is a recording, Noah.
It is.
You see what I'm saying? It can be both of those things, but maybe there's a better art and a worse art, which nobody likes to think about. Maybe it's just because you want to start with, maybe I shouldn't judge myself so hard when I'm starting because I really don't know what I'm doing. And I gotta at least get into it to find out. It won't help me if I just don't even start because I suck and I'm making bad art, But then as you go along that path, you're trying to figure out what's good and bad.
Okay.
Okay.
What if art is a higher language in that it is an expression of a person's perspective, or a piece of their identity maybe, or even just a glimmer of a moment that they put to expression, or pen to paper or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a moment that they happen to capture. People say that a lot. What if then it is nothing more than a communicator for people to look upon and then try to understand. And then the good or bad art could be completely a subjective view based on the perceiver. So if it's too much to understand, it's going to be bad art. Mm-hmm. If there's skill involved, you understand that it takes some skill. So there's at least a little respect for the skill. But if you don't understand the meaning that was placed into the expression, then, which is like a definition, if you don't understand the definition, then you're going to be confused. Mm-hmm. We don't like to be confused. Mm-hmm. So then we'll place bad upon it. If someone writes a book with words, our language we use now, and they're confused the whole time, it's a bad book.
Yeah.
So if we look upon a painting and we have no idea what meaning was imprinted upon it mm-hmm. by the artist, it's a bad piece of art.
Okay, yeah, I like the translation of a higher language, something like that. It's already this thing out there, right? And we're trying to bring it down, and we're trying to formulate it and share our revelation, share our shamanic revelation.
I didn't think about it being an outside source, but it must be. We aren't the ones.
It comes down from something. It comes out of something for sure.
Yeah.
You intuit that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But would you be willing to say that once you translate it and you know the meaning, there are good meanings, and then there are capital G good meanings, and there are capital B bad meanings. Like, stay away from that meaning. Like, wherever that person is, whatever they're pulling up, that ain't good, bro.
But is it too much to say that I think the thing holding us back as a species in terms of evolving in a way that is closer to God or the transcendent is our language. Until our language evolves, we are stunted. We're stuck because we can't talk about the things that actually matter, that are happening to us, that mean more than words have ever meant before. Mm-hmm. So we're stuck. I don't think it's too much to think that art is in that same vein, where it is a language that is trying to be communicated, but we don't always have the words, or we may not have the conceptualizations that allow us to understand the language yet. Sometimes someone draws something relatively simple, and then we can get the idea behind it. But what if there's more than we suppose that is happening? And that's why people have such a veritable degree of experience when talking about art or perceiving art. Like, someone can really start crying, mm-hmm. and then another person can want to tear it down. Where the language, I don't know where I'm going.
You said it, that we don't have the language for whatever we're trying to experience, and maybe the part of the progression in the human species is us having a better language for it. And how do we do that? That's a good question. I totally believe that. I don't know. I don't know. Christ is the word. Christ is the person I'm trying to emulate. Very unsuccessfully. But so, like, I believe that there's you want to find the right words, you want to find the right story and meaning in life, and that you have to make distinctions. You have to be on the narrow path versus the broad one, But I don't think you're off anything there symbolically. The thing about progression, the interesting thing about progression is that Leo Tolstoy. I went to this book because Peterson mentioned in his lectures, but he talks about his religion, how he wrote War and Peace, and all those brilliant Russian novels. But the thing that struck me in his spiritual memoir, his first one, it's a very little book. He talks about how he was all about the circles he was running in as an artist and a writer. They were all about progress. They were all about, like, okay, this is going somewhere. We're making humanity better. And then he said that began to feel like empty and meaningless to him. Like, he didn't know where it was going. And so he actually didn't keep any ropes around his in his, anywhere really near accessible to him, or guns, because he was afraid he'd kill himself. So he stayed away from things that reminded him of killing himself. Okay, because he started to feel hollowed out. And he said that he had good health. He said that he'd, basically not really suffered much in life, that he'd always been privileged to write, that he came from a pretty good family and stuff. So my question is like maybe it matters what progress it is we're articulating, where it's all headed. You know that, it matters which way we're going, but so maybe as a closing philosophical point before you just brief people on where to get caught up on your music and maybe some last points you want to make about that is like, what do you think happens to our art ultimately? Like, what happens to our art when we die, like we've talked about before? Mm-hmm. Does that matter? Can we know that at all?
Yeah. I think I am not a guru. I'm not.
Me either.
We're just talking.
Yeah.
I think we try to separate art too much sometimes from ourselves. We try to do this a lot with everything. We talk about things as if they're separate from us, like the trees are trees and they're giving us oxygen or something.
Yeah.
And everything that we see is outside of us, when in reality it's our minds that are creating all of this stuff, to some degree, or all the degree. However far you want to take your own science, but art in that vein, where art is not separate from us, it is just another thing we do that is pushing us forward, like anyone else. We're all trying to do the thing, or we're not even trying. We're always being pushed to the next moment. And I think as artists, we all have this common mover, which is whatever is the art, I guess. And that could be all it is a mover to form us into the transcendent, or get closer to it. Mm-hmm. And then when we die, it's not a separate thing. It was part of us that got us to the point of death. Without it, we would not have been the person that we are. So I don't know how to really articulate that in a way
that is satisfying.
Is satisfying. But yeah.
Noah, listen, I pull my religious conceptions from history. Okay, so the thing is that I've inherited from a long line of what people think Christianity is and the dogmas and all that. Mm-hmm. So I'm cheating on the test, I'll have to say. If you're trying to make a new one, that's really hard.
I'm just a meme generator in the traditional definition of the meme.
Well, briefly, I really like Tolkien's idea from Leaf by Niggle. It's not his idea, and it's kind of a Platonic idea that the art's out there and that we're trying to manifest that here, make something here that's going to last forever. Like maybe at the end of transformation, we are building the kingdom of heaven or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that'd be cool if we were embodied in doing that, and that means that at the end of our lives, there's a judgment for our art as well as for us, for our lives. But I would definitely choose an embodied reality. That's what I'm banking on, and not that I wouldn't think that like ethereal, like feel good explosion wouldn't be cool. Yeah, that's where I'm at with it. That story, Leaf by Niggle, was like, again, J.D. Bentley showed me that, and that totally was like, whoa, this is something I can grab on. This is a structure I can hold on to for what it would look like for our art to matter, not just on one level. Our art's carried on through our children and stuff, but like I showed kind of in that core article, it all sort of disappears. Like after some time, it goes away. But regardless, I think there's echoes of it. There has to be echoes of it. Whatever we're intuiting when you're making the music, there's got to be echoes of that somewhere out there in the spiritual. Like, why wouldn't it be? Where's that coming from? Is it all like just ego, propping up your ego? I want to be an artist. No, it's you feel something so much deeper than that when you're doing it, you know?
Right. But I think, I don't say but. It's not but.
Go ahead, Noah. Go ahead, but. Weigh my ideas against yours.
So you're saying like the art is outside of us and it exists on a spiritual, the echo at least must exist on a spiritual level.
Yeah. You feel that, I feel that. Right.
But the only reason we may think that, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, is because when we get into a flow state, this stuff is just happening. It is presenting itself. And then it's not us. It's almost as if it is rained down upon us.
Yeah.
So what if we lived a life in flow? Then everything that happens to us must exist as an echo in the spiritual, because everything is basically serving the same function as art. It's just expressing itself from some place that isn't the ego. So that's what I mean when I say it's we try to detach it from ourselves, when if the ego is removed, everything becomes that.
I'm trying to track with you here.
Sure.
What is your objection to the idea that the art comes from, like that we're trying to manifest it here and it's going to end up in some end progression?
There's none. We agree, but I'm saying the only reason that might come as a truth to you would be that in flow it seems like
that it just seems that way.
It seems that way. So if we lived in the flow at all times, our entire existence and experience would be seeming as if it's coming from somewhere else.
Yeah.
So then, in that way, art is no different than everything else that's happening around us.
I think I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's worthwhile thinking about. The last thing that I don't know, the thing that I think is just would be kind of anticlimactic is if we just died and we were dead, and then we were dead and we were taking the dirt nap, and eventually all the children would be dead, and then the heat death of the universe, and then just nothingness.
Yeah. No, and I'm not really
I know you're not
advocating for that. Okay.
No, I know you're not. I'm affirming. There's got to be some greater, the higher plane to the things we're making, and it should matter what we're doing here.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. Any last words on your where people can follow you, what they should be looking out for coming up with your music, Noah?
I'm on Spotify, Noah Colley, Apple Music, YouTube, and probably everything else. I don't really know. But
got that distribution software.
I got a Facebook page, musician Facebook page, and an Instagram, Noah Colley Music. Follow me there, and watch out Friday for the single coming out. And in the next couple months, there's going to be a new EP. And listen to Two Step Live New York, 2009 or 12 or 11. I don't know maybe it's 2010. Holy crap. One of those years. But listen to it. It's really good. We talked about that earlier. Dave Matthews Band.
Yeah. Right on, bro. Yeah, follow at Noah Colley Music. Definitely do that. Keep up with what Noah's doing. And in regards to the Creative Underground podcast, we're going to try to do these at least 2 monthly, and learn as we go, get better at the technical stuff and better at talking. And you can find, if you're interested in these kinds of topics, philosophy, art, you can find more at nickshermandesign.com. You can follow me, Nick Sherman Design Creative, on Instagram. Wait a minute. Nick Sherman Creative on Instagram. Okay. You can sign up for the creative brief on my website. There's a pop-up as soon as you go to nickshermandesign.com, and you'll get bi-weekly cool creative content, like things that I write, conversations like Noah and I have, married artists, videos that Heather and I are going out and do projects in the community, and I try to share Noah's music on there, try to share all kinds of cool stuff that maybe we can all be transformed as creatives together and figure out where this thing's leading. Thanks, Noah.
Thanks for having me.
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 Thanks, Noah.
Thanks.